welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to talk spoilers about Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, this movie, once again, like some other movies, has been very polarizing. Right now, it's sitting at about like an 85% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is a huge drop-off from, well, not a huge drop-off, but it's a drop-off from its 96% Oscar-nominated first film, which, to be fair, there was something special, at least for me. You know, not everybody feels that. You know, you got the racist assholes out there who are gonna automatically feel some type of way about it. And you know, it does sadden me that both of these Black Panther movies, both the Black Panther movies, always come in with so much baggage. Anytime Marvel or DC, for that matter, anybody makes a comic book thing that has a minority cast or a minority character in the lead or something of that nature, there's always gonna be a bit of baggage to it. Honestly, it's ironic that like when I watch something and it's something that I never noticed when I was watching Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. It's because it's not even an equation in your brain until you know, especially those early MCU films. But it's obviously obviously a factor in some of people's. But Black Panther Wakanda Forever also has a multitude of factors. Something that never even occurred to me is Letitia Wright, which there's a spoiler conversation. I'm gonna go full spoiler. So Shuri becomes Black Panther, which we all knew. You know, in the comics, Shuri becomes Black Panther. She's pretty much the second most well-known. It's T'Challa, her, and like his father T'Chaka. I mean, there are other ones. There's the one who's in World War II and whatnot. But for the most part, the two we see the most are Shuri, or T'Challa and Shuri. And I was against it. I was. You guys saw me. I made many videos saying that it should be Nakia. And Nakia ends up showing up in the film and having a nice part in it, but I thought it should have been Nakia. And then more of the story, and then and I always felt like the version of Shuri that we have seen over the past films, it just didn't feel like that would be a Black Panther. It just didn't feel like, because in the comic book, Shuri is Shuri's like T'Challa, except a little meaner. She's a little bit more meaner. She's a little bit more aggressive. She's a little less lenient, because unlike T'Challa, T'Challa has a softer spot for, you know, the rest of the world and whatnot. Now he can be hard and be like fuck the rest of the world when the moment arises, but for the most part, T'Challa's like he's a politician. He's understanding. He's a compassionate man, and you know, he values the rest of the world to the point where at certain points in the comics and even in animated form, his own people are like, are you one of them or are you one of us? You know what I mean? Shuri isn't like that in the comics. In the comics, Shuri is hardcore. She's almost as good as a fighter as T'Challa. She's almost as smart as she's not quite as smart as him, but she's still smart enough, and she's aggressive as hell. She's brutal. She's a little bit more brutal than him. In the comics, she's, like I said, is a different character than the Shuri in the MCU. Shuri in the MCU is a tech whiz, you know. She's a tech whiz. She's kind of she's pushing her culture. She's kind of a, you know, trailblazer. She's coming up with new ideas and stuff. Science first overall things. That's Shuri in the comic. Shuri in the MCU. She's his little sister. There's an innocence to her. There's an innocence and fun to her. She's kind of like, you know, not comic relief, so to speak, but she's like a lighter part of the story. And for me to expect her to be Black Panther, it was a lot to take in. I was like, I didn't know what they were gonna do. I didn't know if it was gonna be I didn't know if it was gonna be a time jump. I didn't know if they were gonna. I thought they were gonna play up there, because there's an aspect of the Black Panther that's not really played up in the MCU. But in the comics, Black Panther has access to the memories and knowledge of the former Black Panthers. So theoretically, they could have easily had just said that once she took the heart-shaped herb, she gained access to all the fighting prowess and knowledge of all previous Black Panthers. And that all Black Panthers have it. So immediately you have it. I mean, they could have said that, but they don't. And I still feel a bit weird about her being such a good combatant. But at the same time, she doesn't. It's not like she does like once she becomes the Black Panther. Not only did the journey of the movie completely lead up and everything, like the movie did a fantastic job of making that journey, because Shuri is the main protagonist. She is the main lead of this movie, and she carries it. And I'm a little, like I said, I'm on the show. I'm kind of weird about, Letitia Wright because of her certain opinions she have. And not because I have a real big opinion on her opinion of certain things. It's because, she could only, all it takes is one tweet. Next thing you know, they're going to have to replace her. And, like, you don't want to hit, that's what I was nervous about. That's my nerves. I have no problem with Letitia Wright. She can say you can say whatever the fuck you want to say. My nerves is, like, everyone else's nerves were like, oh, woman and all this. My nerves was, I don't want them to attach this franchise to her, and then she loses, and then she says some stupid shit, and they gotta replace her. Because then it's like, well, fuck, we did all this so we wouldn't recast, now we have to recast. So I am nervous that she's gonna say some stupid shit one day, and they're gonna have to do something, but we shall see. But the actual journey that you watch her go through, it's beautiful, really, because you watch someone go from a sister to a princess to a queen. And the idea that, like, she lost, like, and they even say in the movie, you've lost so much to be considered a girl anymore. Like, the idea that, like, all this responsibility, all the weight, all of it. And I am a huge fan of stories where the main protagonist isn't ready to be given what they're being given. But, like, through the journey of the story, by the end of the story, they are ready to take this responsibility. The Lion King like Lion King shit. And that's what that was. Her whole journey was Lion King shit. Was dealing with grief. And that's the thing about the movie is, it's a movie about dealing with the passing of someone who's very important to you. And as someone who lost someone very important to them not that long ago, as many of you know, it touched me. It really did. It touched me because it just makes you think about people you've lost that you've had a hard time moving forward with. And since the movie is centered around this universally understandable thing, it gives it a core that other superhero movies don't necessarily have. It gives it an emotional depth that other superhero movies don't necessarily have. Whatever complaints you can say about the film, it has that in spades. And, like I said, the handling of Chadwick Boseman's death was a tricky thing. Because I was worried, we didn't know. We didn't know. Once they said they weren't going to recast him, in my brain, we start going, are they going to kill him in the movie? How are they going to handle this? And they handle it within the first 5 minutes of the movie. And I'm telling you guys, I was in a packed theater. The first 10 minutes of that movie had people weeping. Got me a little chucky. I was like, ooh, man, who cutting onions in this motherfucker? Like, the first 10 minutes of this movie were emotional. The whole movie's emotional, but the first 10 minutes, you're just like, damn. And, the way they even do it is, they did it pretty smart, because I was curious about how they were going to go about it. But the way they ended up wording it, at least as I saw it, is, the idea is that when T'Challa got brought back from the blip, when he got brought back from, the snap, undusted, whatever you want to call it, apparently, clearly it wasn't immediate because he was whooping ass when he came back immediately, the heart-shaped herb and all of the things that it gave him started to dissipate. For some reason, when he came back, it started to dissipate, and he lost the abilities of it. And at a certain point, he got cancer. And maybe it wasn't cancer, but they never actually say what he got, but they just call it a disease. But the vibe you get is he got cancer, just because in the movie, throughout the course of the movie, especially in the later sequences, the mid-credits scene especially, you get the vibe that this wasn't something that just instantly killed him, that this was something that was slowly killing him, and he had enough time to write, a will and make plans for how people should act after his death. Like, he had enough time to make plans and whatnot. So this wasn't something that instantly killed him. And the vibe you got was this was something human. This was something human, but this is something that they don't have a cure for. And even in the comics, all comics, DC, Marvel, most of the time, even with all these superheroes doing these amazing, extravagant things, they don't have a cure for cancer or AIDS or certain diseases that you figure they would, considering, you know, you got these advanced technological beings on planets and whatnot on DC and Marvel. But in both DC and Marvel, even the boys and any name your superhero universe, people still die from common disease, from diseases like cancer and whatnot. Things that, like I said, you figure they would have a plan for and they'd be able to figure it out, considering how, you know, how many geniuses they are. You figure that like Reed Richards or, I don't know, or Batman would have come up with a cure for cancer, but you know, it never happened. So even the MCU, it's plausible that once he lost that serum, that once he lost the ability of the Black Panther, that cancer hit him. Now there's many different ways he got it, but it made it more human, his passing. And like that's the base of the movie, but I really want to talk about Namor and Talocan. Talocan was awesome. First of all, they went totally different than Aquaman, because Aquaman's Atlantis is very bright, very colorful. Very bright, very colorful. Everyone's wearing very bright outfits and very colorful outfits. You know, it's like illuminated by like you know, like jellyfish and shit. Like it's very bright and colorful. Whereas Talocan is a reflection of, since Talocan is so deep, you know, deep in the sea, there's not really any light down there. So it kind of reflects that. It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like a city that's in eternal light, that it's nighttime all the time. But they have lights. They have this big thing. They managed to recreate a version of the sun down there somehow. But seeing it, and like even though the structural, like the way things looked, the structure of things, like it looked like a lot of things looked like it was like a submarine inspired. Like it was a very unique and interesting take on an underwater Atlantic city. And I thought it was very fascinating and very cool. Now, Namor is different. In the comics, like I said in my previous video, Namor is, like, his beef with Earth is pretty shallow. For the most part. It's pretty shallow. Namor's beef with Earth is usually, typically, like, either A, pollution, B, Atuma, who usually is a bad guy, so I kept my eye on him throughout the whole movie. I was waiting for him to do something shady, you know, but usually Atuma says some shit to him, lies about something the surface world's doing. Namor flies off the handle. He's like, man, fuck them. We're gonna go and destroy the surface world. Then some hero has to stop him, and, you know, and it's revealed that Atuma lied to him, and, you know, everything kind of works itself out, and he doesn't actually, and he doesn't apologize. He's just like, huh, my bad. He's just like, huh, well, okay, whatever, and leaves. You know? And he's more of an asshole, he's more arrogant, he's more of a prick. This version of Namor isn't completely like that. This version of Namor has those in him, but he's more passionate. He's ruthless like Namor, and he cares deeply about his people. And this version of Namor is almost ruled by his fear and hatred. Fear, anger, hatred, you know, because, you know, like the vibe you get is he has beef with the surface world because what he has seen from the surface world. This version of Namor is old. He might be even older in this than he is in the comics. I'm not sure, because I know Namor was old enough to be fighting in World War II, but this version of Namor is like, he's conquistadors old. Like I mean, when I saw a 15 in the beginning of the timeline, I was like, whoa, he is old. He is old as shit. So, and he's seen nothing but slavery and, you know, all these things that the human race is doing to one another. And he basically said, I'm not going to let that happen to my fucking people. And, you know, so that's his beef with humanity, is he's only seen the worst. And it's fucked up, because he's seen the worst of humanity and he has judged us by that and been like, that's what they are. That's who they are. And he's kind of got beef with Wakanda a little bit, because he's like, Wakanda, you're just like us. You know, you hid yourself. You also know what these people are. You know what's up. But in a way, he sees Wakanda as the only true threat. And he's like, you either going to be with me or against me. Because now humans are searching the ocean because they couldn't get vibranium from Wakanda. Great scene with Angela Bassett when that French bitch tried to fucking be like, we want vibranium. You guys aren't giving us vibranium. It's like, oh yeah. we know you tried to rob us, but we're gonna call this a warning shot. Hey, here's your dudes. But but they're searching the sea to try to find vibranium now, and that's when Namor steps in and is like, okay, now they're coming in my territory, and they're only looking because of you. They wouldn't be looking here if it wasn't for you. So it's your responsibility to help us. And it's a very interesting cultural clash. It is. And at the end of the day, it was very beautiful to just see that many brown-skinned people getting shine. I love the depiction of Namor. In fact, this version of Namor might even be a bit better. Occasionally, once in a blue moon, there's a movie version of a character that's a bit better than the actual comic book version of the character in terms of a character. Like, I think Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man as a character is probably a bit better than the comic book version of Iron Man character. Maybe not power set, but character. And I gotta tell you, I love this version of Namor. Like, he's just such a different take and a different twist, and how he became Namor, how they found a heart-shaped herb as well. And also in the comics, just a quick little tidbit, yeah, the big chunk of vibranium landed in Wakanda, but smaller chunks broke off when it was coming through the atmosphere and landed in many different locations. And the idea that the heart-shaped herb is how the Atlanteans became the Atlanteans, that they all ate it, but it was a different location, so it did something different to them, and it made them what they are. Like I said, I loved everything about not the Atlanteans, the Talokans. Also, they can sing a fucking song to make you commit suicide. That shit caught me off guard. I didn't see that coming. I was like, yo, that's some scary shit. And even though when they first do it, you're like, that's fucking scary. But anyways, I love the movie. Like I said, it's not a perfect film, but was the Everett Ross / Ironheart stuff a little in there? Sure. They probably didn't actually have to have them in the movie when you really sit back and think about it. They probably could have cut their scenes, or at least most of their scenes, and could have saved like a little bit on it. They could have just been them investigating the existence of the Talokans and the place of those scenes. I mean, they could have. But you know what? I still enjoyed her. I can't wait to see Ironheart's show, because I really liked her as a character. That actress really gave her a little bit of spunk and dynamic. Like, sure, did she seem a little forced in the movie? I'll admit that is true. Like, it did feel like that whole plot line was just there for her to be in it. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. Anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. What did you think of Black Panther Wakanda Forever? Comment below and let me know. Thank you guys again. See you in the next one.